Exodus chapter 37, New King James Version, the making of the ark of the testimony. Then Bezalel made the ark of acacia wood. 2.5 cubits was its length, 1.5 cubits its width, and 1.5 cubits its height. He had overlaid it with pure gold inside and out, and made a molding of gold all around it. And he had cast it 4 rings of gold to be set in its 4 corners, 2 rings on one side. And 2 rings on the other side of it. He had made poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold, and he had put the poles into the ring at the side of the ark to bear the ark. He also made the mercy seat of the pure gold. 2.5 cubits was its length, and 1.5 cubits its width. And he had made 2 cherubims of beaten gold. He had made them of one piece at the 2 ends of the mercy seat, 1 cherubim at one end and this side, and the other cherubim at the other end on that side. He had made the cherubim at the 2 ends of the piece with the mercy seat. The cherubims separated out their wings above and covered the mercy seat with their wings, and they faced one another. The face of the cherubim were towards the mercy seat, making the table of the showbread. He had made the table of acacia wood. 2 cubits was its length, 1 cubit in width, and 1.5 cubits its height. And he overlaid it with pure gold and made a molding of gold all around it. Also he had made a frame of handbreadth and all around it, and he had made a molding of gold for the frame all around it, and the cast from it 4 rings of gold, and put the rings on the 4 corners that were at the 4 legs. The writings were close to the frame as holders for the poles to bear the table. And he had made the poles of acacia wood to bear the table, and overlaid them with gold. He had made a pillar of gold, and utensils which were on the table, its dishes, its cups, its bowls, and its pitchers of pourings. Making the gold lampstand, he also made the lampstands of pure gold, of hammered work made the lampstands, its shaft, its branches, its bowls, its ornament knobs, and its flowers were of the same piece. And the 6 branches came out of its sides, 3 branches of the lampstand out of one side, and 3 branches on the lampstand out of the other side. 3 were 3 bowls made like almond blossoms on one branch, with an ornamental knob and a flower, and 3 bowls, and like almond blossoms, one other branch with an ornamental knob and a flower also for the 6 branches coming out of the lampstand. And on the lampstand itself were 4 bowls made like almond blossoms, each with its ornamental knobs, a flower. There was a knob under the first 2 branches of the same, a knob under the second 2 branches of the same, and a knob under the third 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches extending for it. 3 knobs and 3 branches were of one piece. All of it was one hammered piece of pure gold, and He made it 7 lamps, its wick trimmers, and its tray of pure gold. Of a talent of pure gold he had made it, with all its utensils, making the altar incense. He had made the incense of altar of acacia wood. Its length was a cubit, and its width a cubit. It was square and 2 cubits. It was its height. Its horns were of one piece with it, and he overlaid it with pure gold. Its tops, its sides, and all around, and its horns. He also made for it a molding of gold all around it, and he had made 2 rings of gold for it under its molding by its 2 corners on both sides, as holders for the poles with which to bear it. And he had made the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold, making the anointing oil and the incense. He also made the holy anointing oil and the pure incense of sweet spices, according to the work of the perfumer, making the altar of burnt offerings. Chapter 38. He had made the altar of burnt offerings of acacia wood. 5 cubits was its length, and 5 cubits its width. It was square, and its height was 3 cubits. He had made its horn on it 4 corners. The horns were of one piece with it, and he overlaid it with bronze. He had made all of the utensils for the altar, the pans and the shovels, the basins and the forks and the fire pans. All of its utensils he had made of bronze. And he had made all grates of bronze, network of the altar under his rim midway for the bottom. He had cast 4 rings for the 4 corners of the bronze grating as holders of the poles. And he had made the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with bronze. Then he had put the poles into the ring onto the side of the altar, with which to hear it he had made the altar hollow with boards, making the bronze lever. He had made the lever of bronze and its base of bronze for the bronze mirror of the serving woman who assembled at the door of the tabernacle meeting, making the court of the tabernacle. Then he had made the court of the south side. The hangings of the court were of fine woven linen, and 100 cubits long. There were 20 pillars for them, with 20 bronze sockets. The hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver. On the north side of the hangings were 100 cubits long, and 20 pillars, and 10, and the 20 bronze sockets. The hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver. And on the west side there were hangings of 50 cubits, with 10 pillars and their 10 sockets. The hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver for the east side. The hangings were 50 cubits, and the hangings of one side of the gate were 50 cubits long, with their free pillars and their free sockets, and the same of the other side of the court gate on this side, and that were hanging of 50 cubits, with their 3 pillars and their 3 sockets, and all the hangings of the court, all around which of fine woven linen. The sockets for the pillars were bronze, and the sockets of the pillars and their bands were silver, and the overlaying of their capitals of silver, and all the pillars of the court had bands of silver. The screens of the gates of the court was woven of blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and of fine woven linen. The linen was 20 cubits in the height, along it was 5 cubits, corresponding to the hanging of the court. And there were 4 pillars with their 4 sockets of bronze. Their hooks were silver, and the overlay of their capitals of their bands was silver. All the pegs of the tabernacle and of the court of all around their bronze. Materials of the tabernacle. This is an inventory of the tabernacle of the testimony, which was counted accordingly to the commandment of Moses, of the service of the Levites, by the hand of the Lethamar, Lthamar, son of Aaron, the priest, Baalel, the son of and the son of Hur, and the tribe of Jonah, made all that the Lord had commanded Moses, and with him was Ahab, the son of Ashimach, of the tribe of Dan, an engraver, of the designer, of the weaver of blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine linen. All the gold that was used in all the works of the holy place, that is, the gold of the offering, was 29 talents and 730 shekels. According to the shekels of the sanctuary, and to this silver from those who were numbered of the congregation was 100 tenths and 1,775 shekels, according to the shekels of the sanctuary, a beck for each man, that is half of a shekel, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, for everyone, including the numbering from 20 years old and above, for 630,550 men. And from the 100 talents of silver were casted the sockets of the sanctuary and the base of the veil. 100 shekels from the 100 talents, and 1 talents of each socket. Then from the 1,775 shekels he had made a hook for the pillars, overlaid their capitals, and made band for them. The offering of a bronze was 70 talents and 2,400 shekels, and with it had made the sockets for the door of the tabernacle of meeting, the bronze altar, the bronze grating from it, and all of the utensils from the altar, the sockets from the court of all around, the basin from the court gates, all the pegs from the tabernacle, and all the pegs from the court all around, making the garments of the priesthood. 39. Of the blue, purple, and scarlet thread they made garments of ministry for ministering in the holy place, and made the holy garments for Aaron as the Lord had commanded Moses, making the ephod. He had made the ephod to gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and of fine woven linen, and they beat the gold into the sheets, and cutting into threads to work into with the blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and the fine linen into articles designed. They had made shoulder straps for it to complete it together. It was complete together at its two edges, and the intricately woven band of his ephah that was on it was on the same workmanship, woven on of gold, blue, and purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen, as the Lord had commanded Moses. And they had set oxen stone enclosed in settings of gold. They were engraved as signets are engraved with the names of the son of Israel. He put them on the shoulders of the ephod as memorial stones from the sons of Israel, as the Lord had commanded Moses, making the breastplate. And he had made a breastplate of article woven like the workmanship of the ephod, of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and of fine woven linen. They made the breastplate square by doubling it. A span was its length, and a span was its width when doubled. And they had set it 4 rows of stones, a row with a sardis of topaz, and a emerald was on its first row. The second row a turquoise, a sapphire, and a diamond. The third row a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. The fourth row a beryl, an onyx, and a jasper, and they were enclosed in setting of gold in their mounting. There were 12 stones according to the name of the son of Israel, according to their names, engraved like the signet, each one with its own name, according to the 12 tribes. And they made chains for the breastplates of the ends, like braid cord, braid cord, a pure gold. They also made 2 settings of gold and 2 gold rings, and put the 2 rings on the 2 ends of the breastplate. And they put the 2 braided chains of gold in the 2 rings on the end of the breastplate. The 2 ends of the 2 braided chains they fastened in the 2 settings, and put them on the shoulder straps of the ephod in front. And they had made 2 rings of gold, and put them on the 2 ends of the breastplate onto the edge of it, which was on the inward side of the ephod. And they made 2 other gold rings, and put them on the 2 shoulder straps underneath the ephod towards the front, right at the seam above the interactively woven band of the ephod. And they bound the breastplate by means of its rings to the rings of the ephod with a blue cord, so that it would be above the interactively woven band of the ephah, and that the breastplate would not come loose from the ephah, as of the Lord had commanded Moses, making the other priestly garments. He had made the robe of the ephah of woven work, all the blue and there was an opening in the middle of the robe, like the opening of a coat of mail, with a woven binding all around the opening, so that it would not tear. They made on the hem of the robe pomegranates, and blue, purple, and scarlet, and of fine woven linen, and they had made bells of pure gold, and had put the bells between the pomegranates on the hem of the robe, and all around between the pomegranates and all the bells and pomegranates, a bell and a pomegranate, all around the hem of the robe, a ministering as the Lord had commanded as Moses. They had made tunics, artistically woven, of fine linen of Aaron and his sons, a burnt of fine linen, exquisite hats of fine linen, short trousers of fine woven linen, and a sash of fine woven linen, with blue, purple, and scarlet thread, made by a weaver, as the Lord had commanded Moses. Then they had made the plate of the holy crown of purple gold, and wrote on it in inscription like the engraving of a signet, holiness to the Lord. And they tied to it a blue cord to fasten it above on the turban, as the Lord had commanded Moses. The work completed. Thus all the work of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting was finished, and the children of Israel did accordingly to all that the Lord had commanded Moses. So they did, and they brought the tabernacle to Moses, and the tent and all the finishings, its clamps and its boards, its bars, its pillars and its sockets, the coverings of ram skin, dyed red, the coverings of badger skin, and the veil of the coverings, that the ark of the testimony with its poles, and the mercy seat, and the table of all of its utensils, and the showbread, the pure gold lampstand with its lamps, and the lamps set in order, all of its utensils, and its oil and light, and the gold altar, and the anointing oil, and the sweet incense, and the screen of the tabernacle door, the bronze altar of the gate, and the bronze its poles and all of its utensils, the lever with its base, the hanging of the court, the pillars and the sockets, and the screen for the court gate, and the cords and its peg, and all of the utensils for the service, and the tabernacle for the tent and the meeting, and the garments of ministry to the minister in the holy place, the holy garment for Aaron and the priest, and the son's garments of ministry for the as priest, according to all that the Lord had commanded Moses. So the children of Israel did all the work. Then Moses looked over all the work, and indeed they had done it as the Lord had commanded, just as they had done it. And Moses blessed them. Then the tabernacle erected and arranged. Chapter 40. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, On the first day of the first month you shall set up the tabernacle of the tent of meeting. You shall put in it the ark of the testimony, and partition off the ark with the veil. You shall bring in the table and arrange the thing that are to be set in order on it, and you shall bring it to the lampstand and to the light of its lamps. You shall also set the altar for gold for the incense before the ark of the testimony, and put up the screen for the door of the tabernacle. Then you shall set the altar of the burnt offering before the door of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting, and you shall set the lever between the tabernacle of the meeting and the altar, and put water in it, and you shall set up the court all around, and hang up the screen at the court gate. And you shall take the anointing oil, and anoint the tabernacle and all that is in it, and you shall hallow it and all its utensils, and it shall be holy. You shall anoint the altar of the burnt offerings and all the utensils, and consecrate the altar. The altar shall be most holy, and you shall anoint the lever and its base, and consecrate it. Then you shall bring Aaron and his sons into the door of the tabernacle of meeting, and wash them with water, and you shall put the holy garments on Aaron, and anoint him, and consecrate him, that he may minister to me as priest. And you shall bring his son, and clothe him with tunics. You shall anoint them as you anoint their fathers, that they may minister to me as priests. For their anointing shall surely be everlasting, precedent throughout their generation. Thus Moses did according to all that the Lord had commanded him. So he did. And it came to pass in the first month of the second year, on the first day of the month, that the tabernacle was raised up. So Moses raised up the tabernacle, fastened its sockets, and set up its boards, and put its bars, and raised up its pillars. And he spread out the tent over the tabernacle, and put the covering of the tent on top of it, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He took the testimony and put it into the ark, inserted the poles through the rings of the ark, and put the mercy seat on top of the ark. And he brought the ark into the tabernacle, hung up the veil of the covenant, and partitioned off the ark of the testimony, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He had put the tabernacle in the table in the tabernacle of meeting on the north side of the tabernacle, outside of the veil, and he had set the bread in order upon it before the Lord, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He had put the lampstand on the tabernacle of the meeting, according to his table on the south side of the tabernacle, and he lit the lamps before the Lord, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He had put the gold altars into the tabernacle of meeting in front of the veil, and he burned sweet incense on it, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He had hung up the screen on the door of the tabernacle, and he had put the altar of burnt offerings before the Lord on the tabernacle of the tent of meetings, and offered upon the burnt offerings and the grain offerings as the Lord had commanded Moses. He had set the lever between the tabernacle of meeting and the altar, and has put water there for washing. And Moses and Aaron and his sons would wash their hands and their feet with water from it whenever they went into the tabernacle of meeting, and when they came near to the altar, they washed as the Lord had commanded Moses. And he raised up the court of all around the tabernacle and the altar, and hung up the screen of the court gates. So Moses finished the work, the cloud and the glory. Then the cloud covered the tabernacle of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle, and Moses was not able to enter the tabernacle of meeting because the cloud rested above it, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Whenever the Lord was taken up from above the tabernacle, the children of Israel would go onward in all their journeys. But if the cloud was not taken up, then they did not journey till the day that it was taken up. For the cloud of the Lord was above the tabernacle by day, and fire was over it by night, in the sight of all the house of Israel throughout all their journey. That's the end.